So hi guys, I'm Sep and welcome to my reaction channel. As you can see, we are watching now Lord of Mysteries episode 1 cut content. Actually it is the episode 1 cut content part 2, but I just saw the cut content part 1 because apparently this part had some spoilers from episode 2. That's why I watched the episode 2 before watching this. Now I have watched episode 2. Now I can watch this cut content also. Let's see, and shout out to AniNews for providing with such cut content.
The lore behind Lord of Mysteries is both fascinating and overwhelming.
Yes,
Whether
it
it
is.
be Beyonders, the Paths, the secret organizations, or the world it all takes place
What
in. Whether
secret
it be Beyonders, the Paths, the secret
organization? What is this? I did not
organizations,
notice
or the world
these
it all takes
marks.
place in, all of it is so meticulously crafted and richly layered that it pulls you deeper with every revelation. None of it is spoon-fed to you either, so you're kind of piecing it all together just like how Klein is.
Yeah.
It's episode 2 that plunges us into that world of mystery, and we don't really get a chance to absorb all the information they're giving. Combine this with the fact a lot of that information is condensed for brevity's sake, and I can see why so many people come out confused. I'm sure over time, repetition will make lots of these concepts more clear, but the parts of the web novel this episode should have covered has so much more to it.
Okay.
So, if you're curious to see what you missed and learn more about the world Lord of Mysteries has to
Yes,
offer,
I am
stick around
curious.
since this will cover all of that.
Okay.
Let's get
Thank you,
started.
AniNews.
Last episode, we ended things right after Klein finished his first attempt in the Grey Fog, so let's pick things up immediately after. Setting aside the whole chapter dedicated to Alger and Audrey, there was a blink and you miss it moment giving context to what just happened with Klein.
Okay.
You see, these 4 dots were clearly a result of the ritual.
Yeah.
They seemed to correspond with the 4-corner setup allowing it to happen.
Okay, so during watching the episode, I was thinking what was up with the marks, but it was like not mentioned anything about this in the anime. But
So Klein figured
yeah.
it meant he no longer needed to gather food in order to do the ritual.
So now he does not need to buy the bread again to do the ritual. Now he can do just like just buy the
As easy as
talismans.
that was if true. What was terrifying was the idea that Chinese divinations from Earth could produce real and lasting effects here. It was yet another of the strange and unnatural things Klein would be exposed to.
Yeah.
Enough that he was starting to see why the fear of the unknown was even a thing to begin with. Now, 3 hours had passed since he first entered the fog, so before he would contemplate what exactly just happened, Klein decided it was best to eat first. He would prepare a meal out of some bread and potatoes, knowing full well he can't just eat meat whenever he wants anymore. It was a clear downside to being in this new world of his. A full
Yeah.
stomach would allow him to think things over clearly, though, so it was after eating that he would come to the conclusion becoming a Beyonder was a priority. After Alger and Audrey had expressed such interest in it, to Klein this seemed like the best way to overcome the unknown at the moment. Of course, he had no idea how exactly to become a Beyonder, but
Yeah.
if he waited long enough, eventually the formula for the Spectator Potion would become known to him. Alger was eventually gonna tell Audrey it, so it was after that that he could just create it himself.
Yeah.
Klein's next
So he had
priority
that plan.
was to figure out what happened to the original Klein, so that included why he killed himself and what happened in the events leading up to it.
Yeah.
This
His
also
memories are
included
erased.
trying to recover as many memory fragments as possible, so any clues helping in that were important too. Luckily for Klein, his original self liked to take notes. He had stacks of diaries detailing specific days and what he had learned during them.
Yeah.
There were topics of history like the primordial times and the inevitability of the Age of Steam that
12 May, Mr. Ajik mentioned that the common language used by the Balam Empire in the southern continent also developed from ancient Fisak, okay, a branch of Jotun. Why is this so? Does this mean that every sentient living being once spoke the same language? The Fisak language. A branch of Jotun. So Jotun is more ancient language, like ancient than Fisak? No, there has to be a mistake. According to the revelation of Evernight and Book of Storms, giants were not the only hegemons of the world in primordial times. There were also elves, mutants, and dragons. Anyways, these are just myths and fantasies. So this is not like a typical isekai world. These things are just fantasies in this world also, like our real world. But yeah, this is a theory that everyone spoke the same language before. Now it is 16th May. Senior Associate Professor Cohen and Mr. Azik discussed the inevitability of the age of steam. Age of steam mentioned again. Mr. Azik opined that it was just a coincidence because if it was not for Emperor Rosal, the northern continent would still be wielding swords like the southern continent. So southern continent still uses swords to fight. Mentor argued that Mr. Azik had placed too much emphasis on the contribution of an individual. So Mr. Azik, I'm assuming he is the professor of uh, Khoi University, that Klein studies used to study in, and he trusts Emperor Rosal very much. Mentor argued that Mr. Azik had placed too much emphasis on the contribution of an individual. He believes that with progress, even if there was not an Emperor Rosal, there would be an Emperor Robert. Therefore, the age of steam might come late, but eventually come nevertheless. Okay, I get what he is trying to say. I found little meaning in their discussion. I prefer discovering new things and unraveling the hidden past. Perhaps I am more suited to study archaeology than
The more
history.
recent entries regarding
29th May, Wells found me and told me that he had acquired a notebook from the 4th epoch. Yeah, oh my goddess, a notebook from the 4th epoch? He did not want to ask the archaeology department student for help, so he came to Naya and me to help him decode the contents. How can I refuse? Of course, I can only do it after my graduation defense. I can't afford diverting my attention in this stage. Yeah, so some part of it was mentioned in the anime, but most of it was cut. So but maybe client was not able to decode everything of that, but we saw in the recent episode 2 that the original client like Zhou Mingrui from our world can understand most of it because it is similar to
discovery of a
Chinese.
notebook from the fourth
Maybe
epoch.
he can, if he finds the notebook, then maybe he would be able to decode what is in the notebook. And yeah,
A
for epoch, it
period
was
of
mentioned
time
in the
from over
anime.
1,000 years ago. So, this was a very old
1000
notebook, and
years
the
ago.
research within was a goldmine for any history student. Reason being that the history of the fourth epoch was incredibly mysterious and inherently incomplete. Any tombs, cities, and records were always far and few between, and for any of the records that did exist, they were typically provided by one of the 7 major churches.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
who knows how accurate any of that is, but
Yeah, even even old Nile could not like decode everything of the pages, that only like 3 to 4 symbols
what
were like
seemingly common
transcribed from
knowledge are
him.
three nations that supposedly existed in the fourth epoch. There was the Solomon Empire, the Tudor dynasty, and the Trunsuist Empire, all of which were powers from
The Tudor dynasty, it was mentioned in episode 1. It was written in the old notebook that they could not understand. So these are the empire.
a time also referred to as the Age of the Gods. The
Okay.
epochs before were much more like legends, so for a history major like Klein, the fourth was definitely the most interesting.
Okay.
Klein's diaries,
Maybe later there would be like mention of third epoch, second epoch, like they would be so rare, like it would blow your mind or something like that. Okay, 19th June. I have seen the notebook. By comparing sentence structures and root words, I discovered that it is a modified form of ancient physics. So it is not ancient physics, but modified form it. More precisely, over the course of its 1,000-year history, the physics language has changed constantly, a little at a time. Okay, so it's modern physics.
then proceeds to detail
Okay, more details. 20th June, we have deciphered the contents of the first page. Yeah, it was mentioned in the anime that they together deciphered the first page only. The author was a member of a family called Antigonus. Yes, it was also mentioned in the anime. 21st June, he mentioned the Dark Emperor. Yeah, the Dark Emperor word was also mentioned. So in the novel, it was like described pretty well, but in the anime, it was just certain words that we could not understand if we don't read the novel ourselves or watch this cut content. This is anachronistic with regards to the time this notebook is deduced to be written. Is Professor wrong? Is Dark Emperor a common title for every emperor of the Solomon Empire? Or it is something special? Maybe it was the empire who was only able to awaken something evil, something like evil force. maybe. Then 22nd June, the Antigonus family apparently had a very high standing in the Solomon Empire. The author mentions that he was making a secret transaction with a person named Tudor. Tudor? Is it related to the Tudor dynasty? Secret transaction with Tudor. Who is this Tudor? And a entire dynasty
His
named
progress with the
named beyond
notebook,
him.
a lot of which gives context to everything Klein did when he first awoke.
Yeah,
There was the
it gives so
discovery
much
of the
context.
text being a modified
It
version
gives
of
so much
ancient
context
Faceac,
right
the
now.
author being a member of the Antigonus family, the family's high standing
The author, yeah. So the person who wrote the notebook, ancient notebook, he is also part of the Antigonus family.
in the Solomon Empire, a secret transaction with a person named Tudor,
Tudor.
then the author's mission to visit the nation of
Okay, 25th June. From the new deciphered content, the author had accepted a mission to visit the nation of the Evernight, situated at the summit of the highest peak of the Hornakis mountain range. It was also mentioned in the anime, like just the word Hornakis mountain range. I was so confused what it was trying to mean. So this was nation of the Evernight. Oh my goddess, how can a nation exist at the summit of that peak, which is over 6,000 meters above sea level? How do they survive? Interesting.
the Evernight.
Some kind of
It was a domain
mission.
supposedly located on the highest peak of
The author accepted the mission. This is 2/3 of Mount Everest. Okay,
Parnassus
thank you,
mountain
AniNews,
range.
for the
The
reference.
next entry was, are these strange things real?
26th June. Yes, are these strange six real? Then I think
Then
27 is
finally
missing.
the iconic line of everyone will
Okay, 27 is there. Everyone will die,
die,
including me.
So there was quite a bit of information Klein had sifted through.
Yeah, 27 June only. It is written that everyone will die, but it is not. The content is not written, and client has forgotten everything what happened on the day actually.
Already. It was before he could piece any of it together, though, that the inspectors would interrupt, seeking answers to the mysterious suicide
Yeah,
of his
the
colleagues
inspectors.
Naya and Welch. They were the two interpreting the Antigonus notebook alongside Klein.
Yeah.
When Leonard asked him about that final line in his latest diary,
And I was making the theory that in the newest episode, this episode 2, that there was some kind of feather that was controlling the demons apparently. So maybe Welch and Naya were also under control because they were trying to awaken something like evil force.
Klein decided the best thing was to just be frank. Naturally, there were
Yeah,
certain
he was
things
being
that
honest.
could be said and those that couldn't, but as a veteran keyboard warrior, Klein was skilled at navigating situations
Keyboard
like
warrior.
this. So the whole interrogation would end
Yeah,
without
he is
Klein
very,
being
like,
taken in, a different outcome from what we saw in the
Intelligent
anime.
to what
He
to
did
do.
suspect he was being watched, though, so in an attempt to make it seem like he was truly in danger, Klein decided to act panicked. The inspectors had showed little interest in his
So he was acting. He was not really like panicked because I know from like other interactions that he is very calm under pressure and he can think properly under pressure. So acting seems to have some kind of significance here. And also like in episode 2, it was mentioned that Emperor Rogel mentioned something like that acting is more important than like just sheer strength and power.
spectacle, allowing Klein to calm down a bit. He would rest easy knowing he wasn't in that much trouble yet. This would then lead to a whole chapter dedicated to his cooking, time he would use to reflect on the past as well as the new simple life he was thrust into.
Okay.
Melissa would then come home and be shocked by the meal he cooked, then the two would share a heartwarming moment as brother and sister. The night would then end mostly peaceful and uneventful, but it was once morning came that Inspector Dunn would come knocking again. Peaceful and uneventful, but it was once morning came that Inspector Dunn would come knocking again.
So it is start of the dream. So he came knocking again, but in the anime it seemed like that it was just a continuous thing.
He had found proof confirming Klein went to Welch's place on the night he died, so now he was back to take Klein in for more questioning. Klein had already revealed everything he knew, but still that wasn't enough to prove his innocence. This put his transmigration secret at risk, and since the only other person he knew was a transmigrator was assassinated, Klein wasn't too keen on them finding out about it. This
That's why like Klein was like fearful about telling them everything about the transmigration, because in the past that previous transmigrator was assassinated. So if something is like the reason is related to this, so that's why. And in the anime it seemed like it was like continuous. The police inspectors came, they were trying to take him to the psychic expert, the other beyonder lady. um, but in the anime it was like he came again next morning with more
led
proofs
to his
that he
attempted
went to
escape,
Welch's
which in the
house,
novel was
but
pretty much like how we saw in the anime.
yeah, but client does not have any memory of
The only
going
difference is that
to
there
Welch's
wasn't
place.
this whole Inception-like sequence suggesting the encounter was a dream to begin with. It was once Klein had awoken from it that he was surprised to see it was only 2 a.m. still. Dunn was still there waiting for him in the hallway, except now he was introducing himself as a Nighthawk.
Nighthawk.
It was a name Klein recognized as one of the code names for the Church of the Evernight Goddesses Beyonder teams. A revelation that made Klein think Dunn had manipulated his dreams in a way that seemed like complete control over it.
Yeah,
What it really
dream
was, though,
manipulation.
was simply Dunn entering his dream, then providing the guidance he thought was necessary.
Entering the dream and providing guidance. The beyonder powers are like literally.
It was all
I
part
don't know
of
what to
figuring
say.
out whether Klein was telling the truth or not. By getting him to recall his memories and his dreams, his suppressed emotions and dark thoughts should have become a lot more amplified.
Yeah.
That being the case, whatever stories Klein tells there would be much more believable. Now, that may be how it worked for most others, but for Klein, he found it wasn't like a dream at all. You see, he clearly remembered having rational thoughts, so anything Dunn saw was only what Klein wanted him to see.
Wait.
Memories in his dreams, his suppressed emotions and dark thoughts should have become a lot more amplified. That being the case, whatever stories Klein tells there would be much more believable. Now, that may be how it worked for most others, but for Klein, he found it.
So Klein is a special case. Yeah, the caption. Klein is a special case. So for mostly others, they can't like lie in their dreams. Like when Dunn has entered their dreams, but Klein can fully control the
wasn't
dream.
like a dream at all.
Yeah,
You
it was
see,
like
he clearly
reality
remembered
itself.
having rational thoughts, so anything Dunn saw was only what Klein wanted him to see.
Okay.
It was in the anime that the spirit medium would analyze Klein's thoughts immediately after this, but in the novel, Dunn would instead have to take Klein to where she is first. This would have them share a carriage ride to Welch's apartment.
So Dunn could not see into his dream and find out. So that's when
During which
they
the
went
two
to the
would
psychic
discuss the
expert.
possible outcomes here.
Okay.
Obviously, escape was impossible, but Dunn didn't fault him for trying. Reason being that if it was him being taken in, then he would have done the same. This is because, regardless of whether he remembers committing the crime or not, if proven guilty, Klein's life would be over regardless. That being the case, it was a safer gamble to just try and escape than start a new life in the southern continent. If the medium proves Klein truly doesn't remember anything, though, then next Dunn would have to make sure Klein isn't cursed, possessed by cacodemons, or carrying any psychological problems.
Yeah.
It was the ideal outcome should everything go properly.
Or so maybe Welch and whatever the feather was. As I said, the feather in the second episode, the feather was like burst and was controlling the demons. So maybe they were able to, Welch, Naya and Klein maybe were able to like fully awaken the evil. So maybe evil then took control of them. So that's why like they were possessed. Like Klein was saying, they were possessed. They were not actually suicides.
Practice supernatural events like this rarely ever did, though, since for Dunn, his experiences proved otherwise. Like, there was this one case where he had to deal with an evil cult, and it was here live sacrifices were made via suicide to please an evil god they worshipped. One of the live sacrifices were made via suicide to please an evil god they worshipped.
Yeah, it was mentioned in the anime also, like some kind of sacrifice to like awaken the god, beyonder sacrifice. for dark divination. Dark divination, I'm assuming it's the spirit awakening, but they sacrifice themselves. So but Klein was saying they were possessed. So were they possessed by the evil? They were able to, but then they were able to awaken the evil. Then evil the demon took possession of them, and then the demon made them sacrifice, maybe something like that.
One of the followers defected and reported it, resulting in an investigation that would reveal the god they worshipped was nothing but a randomly thought up entity meant to make the leader rich. All members minus the whistleblower were then arrested, then after intense evaluations clearing him of the same things that Klein would be tested for, he would be released into the public to start over. He would get a job, happily marry, then have 2 children, but despite living a life as pleasant as could be, this whistleblower still ended up strangling himself to death sometime later. So, the moral of the story is that despite escape from the supernatural seeming likely, there's always the possibility it might just be temporary, kinda like the way death is in Final Destination. What then was the best way to resolve this? Well, Klein believed it might be to become a Beyonder.
Yeah.
Now,
It was the
once
best
they arrived at
possibility.
Welch's apartment that immediately Klein would feel like he was surrounded by something. It was only him and Dunn around, yet for some reason Klein felt like the area was crowded. As it turns out, this feeling of being watched stemmed from the numerous spirits that were apparently spying on him. Spirits which the medium Daly was just in contact with. Normally, Daly wouldn't take any measures to make her psychoanalysis comfortable, but because Klein wasn't an enemy and more so just a witness, fragrances were given to him to mitigate pain and make him more susceptible to the process as a whole.
Oh.
In the anime, the whole thing had happened really quick, but here this entrance into his mind happened slowly.
That's why like he was so chill and calm in this realm.
Eventually, Klein would be plunged in.
But in the novel, like he smelled something, so he became calm. And the psychic expert, the lady, was not trying to like harm Klein. And
into a dreamlike state similar to the fog, except this time there wasn't.
yeah, I was saying like it was like the same realm or not, but it is a different realm, but similar to the grey fog.
A lingering sense of madness present. No. Instead, there was only a calm voice bewitching Klein into a state that would hopefully reveal what really hid underneath. When nothing was unearthed, Daly simply let Klein go and Dunn was finished. We didn't get that same level of hide-and-seek as what the anime showed, but I'm glad they added it since the whole sequence was a lot more tense and eventful.
Okay.
It was once Klein had awakened that, despite Dunn saying he was free to go, Klein was still worried whatever evil spurred him into suicide was still after him. Dunn assured him that 80% of survivors in incidents like these typically didn't experience any horrifying after effects, but for Klein, 4/5 still wasn't safe enough. That's when Dunn would suggest joining the church as a Beyonder.
That's why he suggested to join him as a Beyonder. In the anime, it was not clear why did he say that. So 80% should be okay, but there is a possibility because Klein is a special case, so he is also still in the fear that the something might possess him again to do suicide again. Okay.
Since should something happen, the Nighthawks or the power they provide would certainly be able to help him.
Yeah.
The only thing it would cost would be his freedom. That
Freedom.
and the risk
Yeah,
of losing
they need to
control as a
do
Beyonder.
job.
This is because out of all the cases the judiciary teams like the Nighthawks take care of, 1/4 of them are usually Beyonder related. Most of those are Beyonders who lose control, and a large number of that are usually their very own teammates.
So the demons are mostly people who were not able to control the Beyonder powers fully. That's fucked up. The Beyonder powers are actually very dangerous. Client seems to be very compatible. I'm assuming that the luck changing ritual increased his luck.
Would understand only if he joined them. Whether as a civilian staff member or a full-fledged Beyonder himself, joining the Nighthawks would reveal all their secrets and the dangers plaguing their Beyonders. That being the case, the safest thing to do would be to join as a civilian, then decide whether to become a Beyonder after. The main problem with that, though, was that one doesn't simply become a Beyonder just because they choose to do so. With the Nighthawks being a division under the Church of the Evernight Goddess,
Yeah.
the church needed to first accept him.
Oh.
Luckily for Klein, not only was he a history graduate, which the church urgently needed, his recent incident indicated he was lucky. It was a quality that often got people accepted into the church.
He was lucky. Is it because of the luck changing ritual? Saying that again and again, but I think it is because of the luck changing ritual.
Why, might you ask, does the church need people well versed in history?
Yeah.
Well, as an organization that often encountered documents and objects from the 4th epoch or earlier, having a history
so
specialist
like
to
old
decipher
Nile
them was
to
essential.
like decipher the
There
pages.
was, however, a strict confidentiality clause preventing just anyone from becoming a member, mainly due to their lack of trust regarding outsiders. You see, Dunn believed humanity's stupidity was beyond imagination, and Klein could only agree with an iconic quote from
The only lessons humans can learn from history is that humans do not gain any lessons from.
Roselle. In the end, Klein
Reality.
still wasn't sure whether he would join the church, but the idea of becoming a civilian staff member was very much enticing. The pay was similar to that of the lecturer position he was applying for, and it would only go up
I'm sure salary is the main reason he joined.
in accordance with his experience and contributions. The only downsides were a minimum 5-year commitment,
Minimum 5 year. Oh my
a
god.
lifetime confidentiality agreement, and the inability to leave the city without express permission to do so. There were also no weekends since
So he
ship
lost his
would be given
freedom.
And now, it was before Klein had come to the decision to become a Beyonder that he would first go back home to contemplate his options. He would spend a great deal of time
So he just did not directly like join the Beyonders. He
comparing all
took
the
some
advantages
time to
and
think about it.
disadvantages. It was a thorough and comprehensive thought process that covered pretty much everything.
Okay, so he just did not took the decision like suddenly to become a Beyonder.
What
He
eventually went
thought
to
about it
sway his
carefully.
decision, though, was an interesting quote that went like this.
And he's trying to become a Beyonder to know more about the information of Nighthawkers and these stuffs, because it would not only give him more safety but give him more knowledge about something about the transmigration, because he is the only one who can read the Chinese in the deciphered pages of the old Nile. So it would help him, benefit him also, but there would be also a risk that they would be able to know that he is transmigrated, and he has a fear that like the previous emperor, the Emperor Rosel, who is supposedly a transmigrated also, was assassinated. So he has the fear he will be killed, and on top of that he the original client tried to like do kill himself with the gun. So he has a fear that he might be possessed again. So that's why
The inferior
I think so that's why it is the best choice to become a Beyonder.
recluse hides away in the wild, the superior the crowd. It's a quote that essentially means it's better for him to hide his identity as a Nighthawk rather than anything else.
Yeah,
Doing
it is
so
the
would
best
also
idea
teach
for
him
now.
concepts that would certainly help in the Grey Fog, so if he was to truly take it,
Yeah, it can also help him in the Grey Fog, because he still cannot fully control the Grey Fog, and he thinks, and Grey Fog seems to be like it was mentioned that some kind of cheat. So if he can control it fully, then I think he would be overpowered.
advantage of those he brought into it, upping his general knowledge was definitely the best way to do so.
Yeah.
Fast forward past a bit of lore regarding the world's transit system, and Klein would find himself on his way to become a Nighthawk. At the pub, he would witness the grotesque sight of 2 dogs rabidly hunting hundreds of rats,
Yeah.
a spectacle built upon a betting sport to see which dog could catch the most. The bartender would then direct him to a different location known as Blackthorn Security Company,
Yeah.
the place where we see him meet Roseanne. She's been
The
part
clerk.
of the Nighthawks for about 5 years now, and
5
her
years?
father was a member who'd sacrificed himself around that same time as well. She would lead him to a room known as the Chaunis Gate, as that was the area Dunn was currently on watch in. His contract would then be signed as quickly as we saw in the anime, then the Blackthorn Security Company was revealed to actually be the 7th unit of the Awa County Police's Special Operations Department. Units 1 to 4 did basic security and police stuff, while Units 5 and up handled supernatural incidents in whatever city they were stationed
Okay,
in.
so they are the
For
highest.
the Nighthawks specifically, they handled incidents related to followers of the Evernight Goddess. specifically those in their own city of Tingen.
Yeah, in the city in Tingen, it is the Tingen branch that they are working in. But Nighthawks specifically are under the Church of the Ebonite Goddess. So uh, maybe the Nighthawkers would be the name would be different for different churches, but we'll see in
Unit
the
6
future.
were the mandated punishers of the Lord of Storms, and they handled the area around the pier region.
Lord of
Unit
Storms.
5 was a group known as the Machinery Hive Mind, and they were responsible for the university area and suburbs.
Okay.
Now, the Nighthawks weren't that big at all, since the total number of them was only 12. There
Only
were
12.
6 formal members who acted as Beyonders, then another 6 who worked as civilian staff,
Yeah.
Klein included.
Yeah, Klein is also a civilian for now. He needs to gain some experience before becoming a permanent Nighthawker.
This brings us now to quite a bit of lore, since Dunn's conversation here talked about everything from the myth of creation to the Beyonder potion system. If we focus on the myth of creation first, the story shared is surprisingly consistent across all major churches.
So they have the same beliefs.
None devalued the tales of the other gods, so either the creation myth was real, or the churches had a long history of interreligious conflict, ultimately resulting in a strategic shared myth that they could all agree upon. Either way, in every scenario, it all began with the Creator. They had awoken from chaos, shattered the darkness that enveloped everything, then fused into the universe to make all that exists. Every part of their body had become something.
So this is the lore, or the it was the Antigonus family's notebook. It was also mentioned that these are only fantasies. That Klein could not believe these things. The professors were talking about these are about the churches and their beliefs that there is the myth of creation.
The most important, however, was his spirit, since that became the other deities.
Spirit became the gods.
Eternal blazing sun, the Lord of Storms, and the God of Knowledge and Wisdom.
Yeah, the other churches.
Wisdom had also given birth to humanity, and all that would be part of an era known as the First Epoch.
First Epoch mentioned.
Humanity, and all that would be part of an era known as the First Epoch. It was a period of time otherwise known historically as the Chaos Epoch.
The Chaos Epoch.
The Second Epoch was a bit unclear, but it's written that this was the era when the Evernight Goddess awoke.
Second Epoch, the Ebonite Goddess, the church we are currently in.
Together, her and the other gods would work together to help humanity survive the Cataclysm. It was a new era of strife defining the Third Epoch. This would be the same time that Mother Earth and the God of Combat would appear as well.
The other
then
churches.
Finally, the God of Craftsmanship would be born in the Fourth Epoch. So it's from there.
Yeah, and that God of Craftsmanship, whatever that church is, Emperor Rogel destroyed that and created the newest church, the steam and machinery, whatever that church is.
Is that the more ancient gods were the more traditional, making the Evernight Goddess not as orthodox as the original three.
So Ebonite Goddess is the oldest one. The Ebonite Goddess is nobler than the stars and more eternal than eternity. She is also the Lady of Crimson. Oh, the Crimson. It is the power of Mitchell. Mitchell also did something like that. Like Crimson related powers. The Mother of the Secrets, the Empress of Disaster and Horror, Mistress of Calm and Silence.
Key titles, most of which Klein's mother would recite every evening before dinner. Lady of Crimson symbolized the red moon, tying the Evernight Goddess to the eye of the creator from which it came. So, if the first three gods came from the creator's spirit, it's just as impressive that the Evernight Goddess came from its eye. All the other gods had similar explanations too.
This is the eye of the original spirit that created every
for the
god.
most recent upstart of the God of Craftsmanship, their church was relatively weak until the creation of the steam engine.
Yeah.
Now,
and steam engine was created by Emperor Rogel. It was mentioned in the anime also.
Born from the creator's wisdom too. That meant everything stemmed from the same origin. They may not be blessed with magical powers right from the get-go, but over time, humanity figured out how to obtain that power via other means. This would be the power
So humans also wanted to become gods, gain godlike powers. That's why they created these systems.
of the Beyonders.
Yeah,
They
the
found that
Beyonders.
by using the correct parts of evil spirits, dragons,
Correct part of evil spirits. Yeah, because spirits became the gods. So if you take the power of the spirits, then you can like became a god also, yes, and gain the power.
monsters,
And
magical trees, flowers, or crystals, combining them together would create a potion.
yeah,
Consuming this potion would then provide some sort of special ability, the power of which depended on how high grade the potion was. Consuming them didn't always mean success though, as there were three possible outcomes of failure. First was mental death and the complete breakdown of the body, a terrible fate in which the person would become a monster. Second was a change in personality that made the person cold, cruel, and indifferent. Then the third was a mental disorder turning the person crazy instantly. That was what Dunn meant by losing control. Apparently, people in this category became more devilish than the devil. It was the
more devilish than the devil. So most of the demons that are seemingly actually just failed products, you can say, just the persons who could not become actual beyonders and could not control the powers.
Beyonders before who figured this out through rigorous experimentation, eventually perfecting the potion system with the help of the blasphemy slate.
A blasphemy slate mentioned. It was in the episode 1 that from the blasphemy slate, it was the origin from which the 22 pathways were originated, like created from this, the blasphemy slate. The 22 pathways, the tarot cards mentioned, the tarot cards, the set of tarot cards that Emperor Rosel made, the tarot cards that each of them represented the 22 pathways of divinity, and which was originated from the blasphemy slate. It was mentioned.
What is the blasphemy slate? Well, that was the most critical factor in determining a potion's system formation and completion. So it was with that they were able to form a tiered system of chains into stable progression paths, a concept you might be more familiar with as sequences. Each
Okay.
sequence is numbered from 1 to 9, and the lower the number, the higher the grade of potion.
So there may not be any negative sequence. Who knows?
Currently, each of the 7 major churches held control of at least one complete sequence, while others have remained incomplete for centuries. Control
So
of these
each church has like control of each sequence. So we seem to have this sequence 9 maybe. I did not notice why different units have, like, different churches have control of different units also, and then also here they have, like, different churches have different control of different sequences also.
consuming this potion incomplete for centuries to millennia. For a bit more context on the blasphemy slate, all that's known about it is that it was created by some evil gods. No one
Evil
knows how it was
gods.
made, what it contains, or what's so special
So
about
no
it.
one
But
knows.
should anyone discover any information pertaining to it, it was of the utmost importance to report it immediately. Dunn's
Okay.
next point highlights the further dangers of losing control, something that's often attributed to a human's innate spiritual perception. You see, it's not uncommon for someone to be born with the partial characteristics of a Beyonder. This
That means Klein was born with this, so that's why he was so compatible, and also I was like assuming that he was beyonder from before, because he also himself was assuming that.
means they can hear things others can't hear or see things others can't see, placing them onto a sequence they might not even know about. Should
So
they
maybe the nightmares that Klein was watching was also result of his compatibility of being a beyonder. Maybe that's why he could see those things.
then consume a potion that differs from the sequence they're already on, the effects of doing so could range from mental disorder to loss of control to even death. A Beyonder can't stray from one path if they've already chosen another. To do so would result in warped powers and most certainly lead to a semi-deranged state of cruelty and insanity. Now, This much is pretty easy to avoid, but when it comes to losing control, the most common trigger is speed. What I mean is that should one consume a higher grade potion without first absorbing and digesting the full effects of the previous, madness would accumulate and that person would lose control eventually.
So you need to like fully master one sequence first before going to the going to lower sequence. And till now we have just seen the lower sequence is lowest sequence till now is sequence 7, which Dunsmith has, and Dunsmith has the lowest sequence. That's why he is the captain right now of this. And after that we have two people with sequence 8, the lady named Royal and other one is Mitchell.
There's no telling how long it takes for a potion to be fully digested, but as is standard with the Nighthawks, one potion can only be taken every 3 years.
3 years, that would take so much time. So if anyone is sequence 1, how many words that would take, like how many years that will take, 3 into 9, at least 20, more than 20 years. Is there some kind of loophole that you can go through, or someone has so much capability or compatibility that they don't even need to like fully digest, they can digest like a sequence 1 person at once? Or maybe they can't, they will just become evil force, and if someone has tried it, they will become the evil spirit or something like that.
It was a strict waiting period that even then still resulted in numerous losses every year.
Then also, so it is just the minimum, the 3 years timeline.
Finally, the deeper one progresses, the more enhanced their perception becomes, and this in turn exposes the Beyonder.
We also seen the extra that the seer pathway that client chose, that currently he can't see the lifespan of others, but in the future, if he goes lower sequence, he would be able to also see the lifespan of others also. But so anyone does not know the true powers of Beyonder, how it could be, because sequence 7, 8, these also seems to be so powerful, and like mind manipulation, then the crimson stuff that Mitchell did. But lower, who knows what powers can Beyonders have.
Illusions, spiritual enticements, and all sorts of hidden dangers.
And maybe the feather stuff that we saw, that was controlling the demon, that is also a Beyonder power, something hidden Beyonder power that we are not noticing.
Unless that Beyonder has incredible willpower, they'll always be at risk of getting overwhelmed by madness. One small spark of desire or greediness will ultimately lead to their demise.
So even if you control it, there is a chance that you will go into madness if you have like greediness and other intent.
So, as the founder of the Nighthawks once said, Beyonders are guardians, but also a bunch of miserable wretches constantly fighting against it.
Yeah, Dunn said it in episode 2.
Dangers and madness. It's an amazing quote that sums up their existence nicely.
Yeah.
And with that, I think that's a pretty good place to stop.
So yeah, that is for the cut content. There was so much information, and also spoilers from episode 2, but there was so much information and lore that was like cut from the anime, because in anime this information like can't be explicitly shown, or the anime would get boring. And I was also hearing that the first 2 episodes were like pretty much rushed and hard to understand, so that's why maybe. But we got to know about more stuffs, why everything was happening. Many more stuffs made more logic and more sense why everything was happening. And the origin of churches, origin of blasphemy slate. Blasphemy slate is still unknown, but the churches, each churches take each units and each sequences control, and pretty much of episode 2 spoilers that Beyonder, the dark side of Beyonder powers. So yeah, that is for the cut content of episode 1. Episode 2 was also there, but there is a separate video for episode 2 cut content. We'll check that out also. But yeah, that's for today's reaction. I will see you in the next reaction. Until then, goodbye.